Welcome back to my sewing room. I'm Kelly and you found me over on Picking Stitches. Today we're going to be working on the Piece and Quilt Sampler. That's the sew along from the Celebrates with Quilt book. This is going to be the 6-inch Wagon Track Block. And there's actually 2 different color patterns. So we're going to make 4 blocks with the, if you're doing it exactly like this, it has the blue plaid, and then 4 blocks with the floral print. And I'm not certain that I'm really going to like the way the plaid lines are matching up or how they're not going to match up. So we'll sew out these 2. We'll see if we like it, and then we'll make the other 4. So let's jump on in. Okay, so I've got all our pieces cut out for us. I'm going to strip piece some of it, and then I'm going to follow their instructions on these half square triangles. Usually I use that triangles on a roll, but this time I'm going to do the instructions on this part just so you can see the different methods there. So I started drawing the lines on the whites, and it was hard to see on my cutting mat, so I ended up moving over to the darks. So if you see that while I'm filming, don't get confused. So we're going to do 2 of the blocks today. One of the blocks has 2 of the blocks have this rose pattern, and the other 4 have this grid pattern. So I'm going to make one of each, and I'm not actually sure I'm going to like this one in the pattern, so I may end up remaking these in a lot of this floral pattern because, I don't know, the lines might drive me bonkers when it gets into the quilt. So we'll see. So first I'm just going to take 1 pair of each, so we can see the 2 different blocks, and I'm going to right sides together, sew down each line. Okay, so in order to make these without the half square triangle paper, we're going to just use a 1/4 inch, oh gosh, why do I always forget the name of this one? Quilter's ruler, I believe. Yes, Quilter's ruler. So all you need to do, and I'll show you on this blue one because it'll be easy to see, is you're going to line up exactly in the middle. So I like to put 1 corner through the hole in the middle and 1 corner through the hole in the middle. So sometimes I have to adjust it up and down so that I can see both sides. And then I'm going to draw a line on each side. So that's going to give me a 1/4 inch from the center. If you don't have this ruler, that's fine. The way you would do it then is you would just take your regular ruler and you would line up right there, point to point, draw your line, and you could use that as a guide to sew, or you could move over a 1/4 inch and draw a line that way, and move over a 1/4 inch here and draw a line on the other side. And that way you've got your 1/2 inch from center point. Okay, now that I have power, we're going to try that again. And I'm just going to go ahead and chain piece these like we always do, save a little thread and not have so many floating around the craft room. Okay, so now I'm going to set my seam. And then I'm going to cut these apart. Try to use my little fig tree cutting mat. I don't know why I think this is so cute, but I do. I want to say that came in the December subscription box. Okay. So normally I would line these up on my mat and cut multiple ones at a time, but since I'm trying to work in this smaller space, I'm just going to do them individually. Okay, now I'm just going to press these open. And I'm going to press to the dark, which is typically how we like to do it, but sometimes the pattern will call for something else. Just wanted to double check. Okay, and while those are sitting under the clappers, I'm going to go ahead and strip piece these. So I'm going to need to just pull these two together. I'm going to make 2 of these as well. So I just cut a longer length instead of cutting all of those individual squares. So I will strip these 2 together and let those cool off under the clapper. Now I didn't cut these to the exact length, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to start at one end and sew down. Okay, so I'm just going to break these apart, and then I will swap out, set the seam, and fold them open over here. Now for these, I'm going to press to the darker side as well. So the easiest way to do that is just to have the dark side on top. I am going to finger press this open so it doesn't distort, because I'm at a little bit of an odd angle here. And I'm going to set a clapper on it, and then the same thing for this one. Okay, so we'll go back to our half square triangles now, and I'm just going to snip these little edges off. It's funny, I think these are my oldest pair of scissors. I kind of move everything around all the time, and is it on my long arm or is it on the other Juki? And so I sit down, and these are always the ones in the drawer because they're kind of the last ones that I reach for. But they'll get it done. All right, so now that I've got all of these cut, let's take a look at our strips. And I like the way those are pressed open. So now I'm going to cut these down. So originally we were going to cut 1.5 inch blocks. And so I'm going to cut these strips down into 1.5 inch pieces. Okay, it'll be easier to do on this larger cutting mat, I think. So first things first, I'm going to line up a solid line with my seam here. And I'm going to square these up. And then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to want 1.5 inch pieces. So if I start at 6, get lined up on that center line again, then I can cut that down. I think I got a little wide. Let's see what I did. Yep, just slightly. Okay. So now that I've got a 6-inch section, I know I can cut that easily down, and then I'm not going to be dragging through my, I'm not going to be shifting it as I pull the ruler aside. So I'm going to bump over to 4.5. And you can definitely do this 1.5 inches each way, but I just find that this is a little bit easier for me because then I'm leaving behind this section and I'm just shifting along that. So then I go to 3, then to 1.5. But definitely do it the way that's easiest for you. Now this one I don't have enough, so I'm going to bump down to the next measurement, which is 4.5. So that's going to be my waist. 3, 1.5. So that strip gave me, let's see, 4, 8, 11. So that's plenty. I needed 10, so Yay, math. Okay. I'll slip this other one under and get it cut. And then I'll show you how to put these little blocks together. A little bit more waste on that one, but that's all right. Okay, so now that we've got all of these cut down, I'm just going to alternate them. They are going to nest beautifully, and then I'm going to sew them together into a 4-patch. And I'm going to go through this entire stack because I've got more than just these 2 to build. Okay, now I'm just going to press all of these open. Actually, that's too long for this ironing board. Set my seams. And you can cut them apart first, but I like when they're chain piece like this, it's just easy to keep them all together and then they're not falling all over the floor. My sweet puppy dog Heidi is really into chewing right now, and if she finds anything that hits the floor, it has to be food or something she should run off and eat. I think I should have named her Vandal because that girl likes to run away with stuff like a thief in the night and go get under the bed or plant or somewhere that you can't reach her. She's a turkey. All right, so I'm just going to press these to one side right now and get the block on it. All right, so we'll let those sit for just a second. And then we're going to get to do the fun part. I'm going to go ahead and flip these over and iron them from the back side as well. I just want them to be nice and flat since there are so many seams and since I'm being lazy and not pressing them open. Really do love these giant clappers. They let me do it all in one line. Okay. All right, so for our layout, let's start with the floral one. We'll do it first. We'll do the plaid one next. So we're going to have the dark to the outside in 2 spots here. And then the dark to the outside in 2 spots here. And then we're going to get our squares. Sorry, I love this little doodad. I just tucked it away behind something and couldn't see it. So you certainly could use the side of your machine if you've got a thread snipper there. But okay, so for our original block, we're going to start. We're going to start with the block in that position, and then this guy's going to go next to it, and then our next block is going to go with the white to the inside. So we've got the color to the inside, the white to the inside, That's 3. And then we're going to go with our other blue. And then these are all going to be the same direction. So we're going to start with the dark on the bottom corner and just follow that line diagonally up. Diagonally, Kelly. So then we've got them in a row. We'll move our other corner pieces in. And then this is going to be our final block. And this one's going to have the color in the same direction. So all of our blocks have the dark on the bottom left for this particular block. All right, so I'm going to flip these onto here and sew a line, and then I'll add this one to it, and then we'll press it open. Okay, so I'll take this, plop it back on my design board just to stay in the correct order, and then I open it, pin this guy on so I stay correct. We'll zip down this line. So now I will iron these open. So of course we'll set the seam and then set the other side if it wants to play nice. There we go. All right, and I'm going to do these in a nesting format as well. So yeah, I think I'm just going to push the bottom row and the top row towards the middle. And then the middle row is going to go towards the outside. Okay, inside, inside, outside, inside. Okay, let that sit under the clapper for a minute, and then I will sew the other one out. Okay, so again, I'm going to put my first block with the color in the bottom left, and then I'm going to flank it on each side with the dark to the outside, and then I'll do 3 with them in the bottom left. To the outside, to the outside, and then I'll have one for the rest of my stuff, bottom left. Okay, so I'm just going to fold these over, sew the line, fold these over, sew the line, and then I'll move them over to the pressing mat again. And again, I'm not really using these pins to sew down. I could, but I'm just trying to keep them in the right order and the right orientation. So I kind of get this top corner lined up, throw a pin in it, and as I put it under the machine foot, I make sure that everything is aligned. And that's just what works for me. If you want to pin it a lot or none or whatever works for you, works for you. take it over here and press it just like we did the other one. Okay, so again on the rows, we're going to press away from the 4 patch on every row so that it'll nest. So then we'll just sew these together. I'm going to flip this one down, sew across here, and then I'll flip this one up and sew across, and we'll press again. I just want to feel and make sure that that seam is nested well. You can pin if you'd like. Okay, for this one, I'm just going to press these all to the outside once I set the seams. That would be pressing to the inside. And these do feel kind of thick. I might consider on the next 4 pressing open instead of nesting. Okay, set the seam and get it under the clapper, and then we'll take a peek. Okay guys, so there we have it. We've got 2 of our 6 blocks finished up. I'll go ahead and make the other 4 and can't wait to see you on the next one. Well, that's a wrap on our 6-inch Wagon Tracks block. We did finish those out. I went ahead and threw them up on the design wall. I haven't stitched them together, but I'm actually kind of pleased with the way that the plaids go together. And I wasn't super fussy about the way I cut it, so that's good to know. And of course the florals, those are easy peasy. So I felt like this was a fun block. I did end up pressing the other the other 4 blocks open. I think if you were making this in like a 12-inch block or even the 9, it probably is okay to press to one side. But what I found was even though my seams were nesting, I just really didn't like the way the finished block looked. It just felt really bulky and clunky. So I went ahead on these smaller blocks. I would definitely recommend pressing open. And I used a fair amount of starch to make sure that everything stayed together. I did it without the triangle paper this time, but it definitely made me aware of how much I really enjoy triangle paper. So I will be continuing the rest of this series probably with the triangle paper. So if you like these videos and you enjoy getting to sew with me, please like and subscribe. That helps me out a ton. And until next time, we'll see you then.